Praise the name of the Lord.
Hallelujah.
I had already laid the foundation last week when I told you that the easiest way to understand God is for you to observe nature. In the book of Hebrews chapter 1, we are told that God has spoken in diverse manners through the prophets that are in these last days, spoken to us in His Son, Jesus Christ. So everything in the world is speaking God. Am I talking to somebody here? And so if you want to understand how God works, you need to observe nature. And I'm one person that have taken the pains to observe every creature that God has created. And if you look deeply, you will see a message as it is portrayed in their lifestyle. And then you will be amazed. And you will say, like the people in the time of Jesus did, what kind of wisdom is this? Am I talking to somebody here this morning? Last week I laid a foundation and I told you that the cockroach has a scientific name which simply means Phylum Arthropoda. And we have three categories. We have the Oriental cockroach, we have the German, and we have the American. And last week I had taken pains to explain to you the difference between the German, the Oriental, and the American, isn't it? And I also told you that there are about 4,000 species of cockroaches in the world today. And last week I had also told you that the number one lesson we need to learn from the cockroach is that the cockroach spends 75% of its time resting. And so it operates from the point of rest. And I was able to show you in scriptures that God isn't doing anything new, but that everything that God is doing, He has already done. He is the God that knows the end of a thing from the beginning. So before the beginning, He had concluded. And will not allow the beginning to begin until that thing is concluded. Am I helping somebody? God isn't going to do anything new. He's not going to lose sleep because you are in problems. Let me shock you. For every human being living on planet Earth today, dead or alive, God had made provision for them. And I used to say that even all our forefathers, if they were to be alive, it wouldn't be as bad as you having a square meter to stand. The earth is big enough to contain the entire human that have lived and walked in, generations after generation. Isn't our God a great God? Am I talking to somebody here this morning? The cockroach spends 75% of his time resting, and this has a positive consequence in its lifetime. Because of resting for 75% of the time of the cockroach's day, the cockroach can survive a temperature that is as cold as 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So rest enhances longevity. That's why there is a call for every Christian to operate from his point of rest. The easiest way to walk your organs to destruction is to do what you are not wired to do. Am I helping somebody? Yes. There are a lot of frustrated people in the world. Who is a frustrated person? A frustrated person is doing what he was not wired to do. Am I talking to somebody here? Yes, sir. There is a place of specialty. So when you step out of specialty, you will become a casualty in life. Rest. And your place of specialty is your place of rest. Because you will do it with the least of effort. When once the microphone hits my hand, brother, even without studying, I will deliver because I am operating from the point of rest. There is a place of rest for every one of us. There are things that comes naturally to everybody, and the cockroach understands that. And that's why 75% of the time the cockroach spends operating from the place of rest. Number 2. Are you ready? I also discovered that the cockroach can survive without its head for 7 days. Strange. Strange. And the question is, how many children can survive in the absence of a biological father? How many wives can survive in the absence of a husband? If you have not reached that stage in life, brother, you are still hopeless. The cockroach can survive without its head. If you understand the spiritual implication, you will discover that every man here has a head. As a child, who is your head? Your father. As a husband, who is your head? No, as a wife, sorry, who is your head? Your husband. As a church, who is your head? Pastor Sam. How many of you will still come to church when pastor is not around? But the cockroach has an understanding and can survive 7 days without its head. I give you an example of a young man in scriptures who survived without a head. How many of you have heard about Joseph? One fateful day, he went to attend to his brothers, and when they saw him, they said, "Here comes the dreamer. Let us kill him and let's see what will become of his dream." You know the rest of the story. From one thing to the other, eventually they sold him up to slavery. And then they soaked the coat of many colors in blood and then brought it as an evidence against them to the father. Do you know that right from that day, every connection spiritually to Joseph was disconnected, because the father was already abreast with the information that Joseph was dead and gone. And so every time the father prayed, he prayed for 11 sons and didn't pray for the 12. But in spite of this, Joseph survived without a head. Can I talk? Yes, cockroach can survive without his head for 7 solid days. And this is possible because it has holes on its body that helps it to exhale and inhale without its nostrils. How many of you have accumulated enough breath of the Spirit such that if there is no church service again in the world, you will still survive the temptations of the devil? Am I helping somebody? Joseph survived without a message. Joseph survived without a testament. The last sermon he heard in his father's house was what kept him through. But there are people listening to me here that after service they will forget this sermon. Lessons from the cockroach. Number 3. Are we still together?
Yes, sir.
The cockroach has capacity to hold its breath for 40 minutes and can survive under the water for half an hour. In the book of Isaiah, the Lord expressly tells us that every human must go through 2 major spiritual experiences: the water experience and the fire experience. Am I helping somebody here? When the enemy releases the flood of destruction, how many of you will still stand? How many of you will survive in the midst of adversity? The 3 Hebrew children, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, in Daniel chapter 3, said to Nebuchadnezzar, "We are not careful, we will not observe protocol in answering you as far as this matter is concerned. The God we serve is able to deliver us, but just in case He will not deliver us, we are ready to die." Am I helping somebody? The cockroach can survive underwater for half an hour and 40 minutes by holding its breath. How many of you know that the Spirit of God is a type of breath? How many of you will survive with the last breath of the Spirit after every service? Assuming if something happens today and they say there shouldn't be any church service, how many of you will continue to carry the fire that was once lit in your life? Am I talking to somebody here this morning? Yes, my prayer for you is that you will get understanding and you will operate with the wisdom of the cockroach. Amen. Somebody's not hearing me here. Amen. Number 4. It has been scientifically proven that cockroaches can run for 3 miles, spreading infections. That's where I'm going to anchor my message. You can't blame the cockroach because everybody gives what he or she has. Peter said to the crippled man at the gate of Beautiful, Acts of the Apostles chapter 3, silver and gold have we not, but what we have we give unto you. You cannot make a demand from a man what he does not have. You can't come and ask me for 1 million naira now. Am I helping somebody? Am I talking to somebody? So the cockroach understands that it is living to spread something. How many Christians are ready to carry the message of the gospel? For great the Lord gave the word, and great was the company of them that published the word. It is our responsibility as Christians to carry the message of the gospel until people are down with the virus of holiness, until people catch. Oh my God, I don't know who I'm talking to here. Cockroaches can run 3 miles, small as it is, running with a message, running with what it has, running with an infection to get as much human population down as it can. How many of you are running with the message of the gospel to get people into church? God has placed you in strategic position until you appropriate the wisdom of the cockroach and know that the reason why you're living is to give. Then you have not started living. Am I helping somebody? Yes, sir. All the cockroaches does is to run for 3 miles with infection, spreading it wild and fast. Church of God, we need to begin to spread the gospel by any and every means. In your office, slip a handbill into somebody's hands. Tell somebody about Jesus. Discuss about hell and heaven. Spread the good news. Tell them that Jesus Christ died to save sinners. Spread the good news. My prayer for you this morning is that you will live by the wisdom of the cockroach. Yeah. Spread the news until people are down with Pentecostal madness, speaking in tongues, and people begin to give recklessly in support of the work of the gospel. Spread the news. Touch your neighbor and say, spread the news. The last point which I want to mention here, and it is the most interesting of them all, is that the cockroaches are fasting scriptures. Cockroaches can stay 1 month without food. Somebody ready for service? Yes, so they know how to fast. They know how to fast. Even when Christians do not fast, cockroaches fast. They understand that the wellspring of the supernatural can never be opened without a fast. Jesus said to his disciples, the reason why you couldn't send this one out is because you lack fasting capacity. For this kind goeth not forth except through prayer and fasting. If you are not a fasting Christian, you will be a defeated Christian. Do you know that there is one thing that the kingdom of darkness and the kingdom of God share in common? And that is fasting. There are certain juju that you want to do that they will say you must not eat. What is that? Fasting. What is fasting, by the way? Fasting is abstinence from the things the body requires. And there are three major things a man can fast from: food and water, sleep, and sex. Are there native doctors in the house? Are there people who have consulted native doctors before? You will see that juju becomes effective when these three components are adhered to strictly. Go and ask your Odeshi boys. They will never eat food from women. They will never sleep with a woman as far as the battle will last. Somebody's not hearing me. Somebody's not hearing me here. The cockroach understands that without fasting, you can't do much in life. Without fasting, you can't amass spiritual energy. Without fasting, you can't conquer certain demons that has been released against you. Jesus said, this kind. So there is a kind that requires fasting. I want to talk to somebody here. Apart from staying for 1 month without food, the cockroaches, they have capacity to stay 7 days without water. Oh my God. Somebody say, Lord, help me to operate the wisdom of the cockroach. I say, somebody say, Lord, help me to operate the wisdom of the cockroach. I'm going to go through the 5 points again and then we will pray. Number 1. The cockroach operates from the point of rest. Hebrews chapter 4 from verse 1. Read the entire scriptures. You will see that God speaks about rest. Not for himself, but for every child of his. That anybody who enters into rest has ceased from labor. So there is a difference between labor and favor. And favor is only found in the place of what? Rest. Number 2, the cockroach has capacity to survive without its hair. The question is, when the pastor is away, what do you do? How many of you can survive without a pastor as a church? How many of you can survive without your father? How many of you can survive without your mother? How many of you can survive without your husband? Wives, are you listening to me? If you have not raised your status to a point where you can survive without your hair, then you need to learn from the cockroach. Am I talking to somebody here? How many of you can survive with the last breath, which is a symbol of the word I am preaching today? I pause and ask, what did I preach last 2 weeks? You start saying because every breath goes with time. And if you want to make it in life, Solomon said to his son, if there is anything that has kept me, it's simply because I have bound the word of God to my hands, to my heart, and to my life. Am I talking to somebody here? Joshua chapter 1 verse 8. This book of the law shall not depart out of your mind, that you will meditate on it day and night. You will think on it, you will brood on it. It is only then you will be able to observe the things that are written therein. Then you will make your way prosperous and have good success. Good success. What kept Joseph was the last breath he got in his father's house. When Potiphar's wife showed up, he said, I cannot do such great wickedness against my master and against the God of heaven. There was no pastor, there was no Holy Spirit, there was no testament, there was no church. My prayer for you is that the Lord will help you this morning. Rise up on your feet.
don't know what you heard. Lift up your hands and begin to talk to God this morning.